Hi dear soul, if you've clicked on this video, I trust that there is something inside this video, insights, activations that are meant for you today. That is my sacred intention behind this video, and I'm going to be speaking to you like I'm speaking to one of my one-on-one clients, directly to you. We are meant to connect this way, so welcome and come along for the ride and the journey. So if you're feeling resistance, unaligned, stuck, confused, unsure on your path, I completely can understand where you're at, and I believe this is why I was gifted these images, these visions, these insights to support you on your path as it's been supportive for me on my path. So also too, I've been called to this YouTube journey, and I don't know why, but it is starting to come to light why that is. I mean, I'm just trusting the path, right? We all have a path where we're meant to be going, and this path is infinite, right? And we're always gifted opportunities to course correct, because sometimes we might find ourselves down here or up here from the ego and up here from hustle and push, versus in alignment and in flow. The difference is this, you feel the when you're not on the path, versus like in flow and aligned. That is the difference between these two pictures, right? So how can we course correct and get back on this path? Because I truly believe that the universe will always gift us course correction opportunities. And what can that look like? Well, that can look like divine intervention, divine orchestration. What is that? What do I really mean by that? And I want you to actually reflect in your life where you might use a different term versus divine intervention or divine orchestration, but just when I explain this to you, reflect back in your life where actually forces outside of you swooped in, came in and supported you when you were down here or up here, hustle and push. I mean, I've been down here in anxiety, in fear, I also call this down here, when you're finding yourself down here, the ordinary my gosh, yeah, you just saw me struggling how to write ordinary. The ordinary path versus up here, this is the extraordinary path. So what I really love is that airplane analogy is the pilots are always course correcting to get back on to their path, right? So you will always be gifted opportunities to come back onto this path. So if you're in the ordinary vibration and you're down here, yeah, a lot of society lives down here in the ordinary vibration, where you just live that ordinary life, and there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear, right? A lot of people live from this. I truly believe we did not come here just to live an ordinary life, but to live an extraordinary life. And we all have extraordinary gifts, extraordinary talent, extraordinary within us. We just have to connect back up to that. But what up here? What if you're up here? What's going on up here? This is the ego, led by the ego, force and push. Very, very different vibration than flow and led by your heart. So this can sound very hairy-fairy to some people, and trust me, I was very, very force-led, and I was like, heart, no, meditate, no, I don't have time for that, I gotta force and push to get to where I wanna go, right? This is very 3D. This is very 3D. And if you don't know the difference between 3D and 5D consciousness, 3D consciousness is very, very pushy, and what is pushed in the collective, pushy collective, yeah, that makes sense, of you have to burn yourself out to get to where you want to go, because there's no trust on the extraordinary vibration, trust the extraordinary timeline, your extraordinary self, trust in the unknown, because your heart is unknown, right? Your unique, authentic way is on this path is unknown to society. The ordinary path, this is known. The 3D path, hustle and grind and push, is known. This is known. So it's easier to be like, well, I know if I put in this amount of hours and I push this amount away, I will get X. I will get this amount of money. Can you see this? This amount of money. I'll have this amount of friends. Ugh, this is an energy drain because you have to keep up appearances. You have to, it's like the keeping up with the Joneses analogy. It is an energy drain. When you're here and you're in flow and alignment, it is not an energy drain. It is a very, very different experience. And it's probably unknown to you, or you're just tipping into this flow and unknown and trust. And it's like, ooh, like you waver. This was me. I would waver. I'd be like, well, I want to trust. I want to trust in my heart. I want to trust in something deeper and greater and grander than just my 3D human meat suit self, right? I want to trust. And so I would waver. I'd go up and then I would come back down. Come back to anxiety and to fear and old conditioned ways, right? And then I would go back up. But the universe has always gifted me experiences to come back up, to course correct. And it will do that for you too. So divine intervention and divine orchestration is what was coined to me, those labels and those terms, from my mentor, Pilar Lesko. I'll leave her description to her website below in the description box. And it really resonated with me. And when things resonate with you and you feel these little like, ooh, truth bombs, activations within you, allow those to land, allow those to integrate. Maybe half of it feels resonant to you, 75%, 80%. Take that 50%, take that 75%, take that 80%, and allow it to really integrate and land for you. And what do I mean by that is to reflect, like sink into it. So when I was coming off my path, this is a fun little picture here. When I was coming off my path, divine intervention, my human self, my 3D human self, was in a business and partnership that was not aligned for me anymore. And you can be on the path and have aligned relationships, aligned situations, aligned jobs, aligned careers. And then as you evolve and grow, or as your path continues, it's no longer in alignment. But your human 3D self is like, well, I know this job, I know this relationship. So you want to stay, but you get pushed off your path and you'll feel unaligned. And if you don't move, you may experience, hopefully, divine intervention, right? And so what happened is my human self was like, so like, no, I know this business. I know what I'm doing. I'm in a community. My friends are here and all of these things I knew that was keeping me in this known off the course path. That divine intervention came in and made the other person I was involved with say, this needs to end. And I felt this huge sigh of relief because 3D human Maegan did not feel strong enough. I was too fearful to end it, but the other person ended it. So reflect back in your life. And this is a beautiful quote from Steve Jobs, is you can't connect the dots looking forward, but you can connect the dots looking back. So connect the dots looking back to reflect and see like, interesting, when I got fired from that job that I thought I needed, it was in the known. And this known and unknown was really gifted to me from Phil Good Life. I'll also leave his channel in the description. And it was so true. It's like the known, we get so familiar and stuck in the known. It's like when people are like, well, why don't you just leave that relationship? We've all heard this and we've all been and had a friend who were like, why don't you just leave that relationship? Like, hello. And they're so stuck in the known, right? And maybe even reflect now in your life where you're stuck in the known, but off your path. Where in your life? Career, relationship, even where you live, okay? And the beautiful thing is, I do believe the universe will support and course correcting us and bring us back onto our path. But we need to take the divine intervention. We need to take the gift that the universe or guides, whatever you want to call it, is gifting us. If I would have said to my partner, no, I want to stay, I wouldn't have taken that course correcting, beautiful gift from the divine. But also when you can reflect, oh, I got fired from that job, what are some other ways? Divine intervention, they're just not gonna let it work anymore. They're not gonna let it work anymore. They'll remove people from your life, remove the situation from your life. And at first you might be like, no, because you're so grasped onto the known and you're gonna be pushed and flooded into the unknown. But what I also truly fully believe is it's divinely orchestrated. We're not gonna get this big divine intervention and it's not working and be thrown off our path and not be supported. I believe we are supported in every phase, stage, transition, and cycle of our life. And if you can embody that belief, that truth, that innate knowingness that you are supported in every phase, stage, transition, and cycle of your life, going from the known to the unknown on back to your path to this extraordinary vibration and timeline, it won't be so scary. And you also won't be afraid of making mistakes. You won't be afraid of failure because failure is a part of the path. I don't want to draw more because I feel like it's so messy. Failure is a part of the path. It leads you forward because it's like, oh, tried this. No, that wasn't right. Back here. Oh, tried this. You're still on the path. You're still going this way. Versus if you don't make mistakes, you don't try, what happens? You're just down here. You're just down here. And you didn't come here to be down here. Okay, I need to erase some of this because it is just a little messy here. So the universe, if it intervenes with divine intervention, you best believe it was supporting you with divine orchestration prior to. So for example, divine orchestration, you had a conversation with a friend and it was like an aha moment. So you went and read this book and then you went and took this course and then you had this coach, this therapist, this other guide that helped orchestrate you back on your path. I've had many mentors, many guides, many people in my life, human guides. I call them human guides. When I'm like, tuning into the fear and coming back down here, the universe will divinely orchestrate me and send human guides to bring me back on my path. So for example, as an RTT therapist, that journey, it's unknown. It is an unknown alternative journey, right? I could go in the ordinary known and go get my master's and be a psychologist that way, but it wasn't my path. That is not what I was guided to. And if you're guided to do it that way, I'm not saying you have to do what I'm doing. Follow your guidance, but I wasn't guided that way. It'd be easier. Sometimes I think it'll be easier down here on this ordinary way. Here I go again. But it actually won't be easier in the long run. It won't be easier in the long run because it'll feel so hard. This resistance, this unalignment when you're not on your path, your extraordinary path. So I've been sent human guides to reignite, re-inspire me back on my RTT path as RTT therapist, and I've been divinely guided to it. See how you've been divinely guided to something. Maybe something is your hobby and you just keep being pulled that way. Trust in your heart's pulls, in your internal guidance system. So back to my divine intervention story. I didn't fall flat on my face because before that, 8 months before that, the universe actually divinely orchestrated and gifted me my rapid transformational therapy training. I was in a whole completely different career, business, and I felt this pull to go train in LA with Marissa Peer in rapid transformational therapy. Very different from what I was doing in a fitness industry, right? And I just honored this pull. I honored the unknown. I went, and when I was divinely intervened to leave the known of the career I was in, I had this beautiful gift that was divinely orchestrated to shift full time as a rapid transformational therapist. You will always be backed. When there's a divine intervention, you will be divinely orchestrated. So reflect and look back. Like Steve Jobs said, look back. The power of reflection is so you can actually see you are not alone. You have always been supported. Whether you believe in God and angels and archangels in the divine, you might start to really believe now because ordinary 3D just believes only in the seen versus in the unseen. And let me tell you, there's a lot going on in the unseen. And even before my spiritual awakening, I can see how I was guided. But when you can have this awareness and be aware and open to reflect and look back and see divine intervention and see divine guidance and to see divine orchestration, you will be opened up to bringing it more into your awareness. So pause. And nothing's wrong with your internet. I actually just paused. Pause and reflect and look back and see how you have been guided back to your path. Now, yes, we do have free will and we can deny the path, right? And this is why I drew this, like the anxiety and the fear. When you focus more on that anxiety and the fear, like it feels like that, feels like tension, and it doesn't feel good. And then to move up into this extraordinary vibration, it takes so much trust in yourself, in the unknown, the unseen, and to tune into your heart. Okay, so HeartMath Institute, heartmath.org. Again, I'll leave the description below. Leading research in this area. Okay, it's not just like connect to your heart. It is grounded, it is researched, you can trust in it. So how do you connect to your heart? Well, first of all, your heart has its own neurons. Your heart was formed before the brain. It's actually coming out how much more powerful your heart is. And now when we can bring the two into union, our subconscious, the power of our mind, and our heart together, you're creating this really nice flow of energy, flow of knowingness, tapping in, tuning in to your higher self, to guidance that's coming through. And if you're really like, I don't want to like say guides or whatnot, it's guidance from yourself, your own internal guidance, okay? Use whatever terms really resonate with you. So 3 ways. Heart touching, so feeling your heart, touching your heart, breathing, feeling your heart breathing to your heart, and then connecting to a heart-based emotion. So HeartMath.org came up with 4 that are consistent for the collective, the vibration, the emotion of care, compassion, gratitude. Oh shoot, what's the 4th one? I can't think of the 4th one. I'd really always like to go with gratitude. And connecting to your heart, it's like any relationship. You have to spend time with your heart, put time with this part of yourself, right? Because up until now, if you've been leading that ordinary life, it's like, no, just mine, just hustle, blah, and we're not tuning into such a deep, powerful part of ourselves. So to recap, how to start to shift from ordinary, resistance, anxiety, fear, to the extraordinary path, your extraordinary path. When you can connect and tune into your heart, which we went over, and give yourself that time, that space to really establish the trust in yourself and in the unknown and the unseen. And just keep coming back when you feel yourself moving down or moving into, before up here where it was that hustle and that push and that force. Notice when you're operating from these levels. And another nice way to look at it, which I gift a lot of my clients, is your higher level you and your lower level you. So you can start to differentiate and dissociate when you're operating from the lower level you and the higher level you. This is still lower level you, force and push, and the higher level of you. And you'll course correct yourself when you can be like, all right, make a list of lower level thoughts, lower level beliefs, lower level actions. Lower level actions is doing what everybody else says I should do, versus higher level you, tuning those voices out, sitting with yourself, meditating, quiet space. All the greats talk about meditating, talk about the insane revelations they've had meditating, because you're actually able to tune into yourself versus what everybody else is saying, what your parents have said, what society has said. You tune those voices out and you can really ask, like, is this a true heart's desire? Or is this someone else's voice? And sometimes we are gifted, our human guides, to activate heart's desires, especially if when we were in childhood and we were always told what we had to do and really wasn't allowed to follow our internal guidance, our heart, our truth. It might take someone else to re-spark and reactivate a heart's desire and a heart truth, and you will feel the difference. Yes, it might come from someone in the collective to re-spark that desire in that heart, but it is yours, right? Versus like, oh, I just went to law school because my parents said I went to law school and I felt this resistance and I felt this forcing myself to go. And I'm not saying that this path, even though it's flow and alignment, there isn't going to be challenges. There's a difference between challenges and failures and mistakes, because that is a part of the process. Though that is a part of you growing and going to the next step on your path. The mistakes, the challenges are important, okay? And even what was super helpful for me is I made all the challenges in my life that I went through, big ones, I made a list of all the lessons, all the insights, all the gifts that those challenges gave me, because I was like, oh my God, I was way off my path. I was way over here. No, I was still on my path, and those challenges are important. So it's a difference between force and resistance and challenges and mistakes that lead you on your path. So even making a list of all those gifts, all those lessons, all those insights from the challenging relationship, from the time you got fired, from when this didn't work out, and see even how divine intervention, divine orchestration was a part of that. And you'll really open your awareness of like, wow, okay, so now you'll know when you're off your path and when you're on your extraordinary path. And you'll feel physically, energetically, mentally, emotionally, you'll feel the difference. It's just tuning in and noting that and feeling that and connecting to your heart and giving yourself time and giving yourself space, recognizing, aware when you're operating from an ordinary, from force, from 3D level consciousness. And take the course corrections. Oh, I didn't know if I was going to talk about this in this video. I'll touch on it and we'll see how far I go into it. But when you're moving from force, from this known, from ordinary to the unknown, back to your path, you may experience the void space. And the void space is where you're really leaving and releasing and burning out old fears and worries and doubts. Your ego is upgrading, up-leveling to your next level of self, your higher level self, which is on this path. Your higher level self is on this path. Lower level self is force and ordinary vibration. And as this space to get back onto your path, to tune to your higher level self, to burn out these fears, worries, and lower ego, you might be in a void space, okay? And that will feel like you're that caterpillar and going through a metamorphosis, and it can feel very scary because it's very unknown. It's like, oh my gosh, like maybe I should go back to working 12 hours a day because I know it'll lead me to this ordinary, forceful life, and at least I know that. It's important. If you're in it, about to go through it, on the other side of it, you know how important it really was. And the void space, welcome it. I was in it for almost a year. I feel like I'm actually even just coming out of it still. And I went from hustle and push and work myself to the bone and not do anything fun. Oh, fun too. On this path is fun. So follow the fun. Follow your fun. Follow what lights you up. But I was in a very different place and very different space, and that void space to clear out the fears and the worries and to trust my path and trust that unknown path. I had to grow through really shedding such old conditioned parts of me from childhood, from the ways I saw work and had to work and trust this unknown path. So another great thing when you're on the other side of it, you can reflect back and see, oh, okay, this is why I went through it and why I grew through it. And I'll also leave a nice meditation from one of my mentors, Steve Nobel, who does a void space transmission to support you as you let go of this ordinary, this old way of this force of being to support you back onto your path. So lots of good little resources for you. I trust you received everything you needed in this video at this time today. I do recommend you re-listening or re-watching. If you kind of listen to this as a podcast, completely fine, but re-watch as there was a lot of visuals there for you. And I would love for you to comment your favorite activation, like, ooh, that just like really hit home for you, and that insight, as sometimes people are just guided to the videos for the comments. I know I've just gone to videos and read the comments, and just someone's comment was what I needed to experience that day to support a little course correction back on my path. So you don't know who you will support in their journey just by leaving a comment, and I would love to read it as well. Lots of love to you. Till next we meet.